Welcome to the Kidds Biz Podcast, your go-to source for unlocking the secrets to success in orthodontics and pediatric dentistry. Each episode, we bring you expert guests who share innovative strategies and insider tips to help your practice thrive. Whether you're looking to enhance patient care, boost your marketing, or stay ahead of industry trends, we've got you covered. Join us on this exciting journey to elevate your practice and make a lasting impact in the lives of your young patients. Let's dive in.
In this episode of the Kidds Biz Podcast, Davin and I welcome Dr. Randy Hamilton, a board-certified pediatric dentist. We discuss Dr. Hamilton's journey in establishing a successful dual specialty practice and the strategies he implemented to grow his practice to 15 locations in 10 years. Dr. Hamilton shares the challenges of scaling a practice, the decision-making process involved into expanding into new markets. We highlight the synergy between pediatric dentistry and orthodontics, emphasizing the value of creating a unique patient experience. Throughout our conversation, Dr. Hamilton discusses innovative marketing strategies, budgeting for the dual practice, and the significance of a sales skills for the treatment coordinating role. We also highlight the evolving landscape of both specialties and the need for practices to adapt to future trends.
All right, Dr. Ashley, here we are, the second Kidds Biz podcast.
Yay, I love it.
I am so excited, and we've talked a little bit, but since the last one, the feedback that we've gotten and that people that have reached out and talked about it has been really, really encouraging. So I think we're maybe onto something.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Today, I kind of wanted to walk us through our guest for today, Dr. Randy Hamilton. I know I'm really excited about having him on. He's got a lot of knowledge to share. He's kind of like the perfect guest for this podcast. He's been in ortho and pedo for a long time. He's native to Texas, so like my wife is excited because she's a Texan. And he's a board-certified pediatric dentist. He's also got a book, Grin and Bear It, A Parent's Guide to Little Teeth. So I think that'll be fun. I can't wait to learn a little bit more about that. He began his path with a BS in finance from BYU. And then he had a short stint in the corporate world. He received his dental medicine degree from Nova. And then he served the U.S. in the military and completed the AEGD residency. And then while he was at Shepherd Air Force Base, he became very proficient in surgery and anesthesia. And ID sedation, and then he finished at the top of his class. So he has got a breadth of knowledge that I cannot wait to learn from what he has to say today. And then upon completing the Air Force, he attended Temple University Children's Hospital for pediatric dental residency. And then immediately after residency, he founded iKidds Pediatric Dentistry and Orthodontics, which is nationally recognized for its customer service. It's in the greater Dallas area. In 10 years, he grew it to 15 offices, including a centralized platform and a training facility on customer service. You don't see that a lot in the dental and ortho world. And then 3 years ago, Dr. Hamilton partnered with D4C, which is D4C Dental Brands, and is now overseeing multiple states and assists with their growth. So that's a mouthful, Dr. Ashley. Here we go. We've got quite the guest.
Well, I'm so excited because, Dr. Randy, I feel like you are the opposite of me, right? So you were a pediatric dentist that brought in, I think, an orthodontist and then grew that way. Whereas I'm an orthodontist and I did my startup pedo ortho and then brought in a pediatric dentist as my associate. So maybe first kind of talk about the evolution. I know that a lot of our Facebook members and things like that are really interested if either they're a pediatric dentist or an orthodontist, kind of how they grew that dual specialty and kind of the evolution of that dual specialty. So obviously you started off pedo. Can you kind of talk about, did you initially start with ortho? Did you bring in an ortho later on? Kind of just talk about how it became pedo and ortho.
Sure. Great question. So glad to be here. First of all, I appreciate the invite. And when I originally met Davin, just great guy, and talked to me a little bit about what you guys do. And I love the idea, and always happy to get on, any any type of feature like this and share my story. I'm to the point in my career where, and it's funny, I go to these residency programs and speak to a lot of residency programs, and I look out at the residency programs, and I'm at that age where I look out and I think that I'm still the same age as everyone else until I look in the mirror and realize that I'm the old guy in the room now. And it's hard to accept that.
I think no matter what age you are, that happens.
It seems like I'm still the old guy with the three of us too. So,
no.
But I'm to that point to where I'm ready to share all that I have so that people don't have to reinvent the wheel anymore. This is such an incredible career, and an orthodontist and pediatric dentist, I think, are the two best specialties that you can have in all of medicine, dentistry, optometry, you name it. Those two fields just work so well together. And it took me a couple of years to actually realize that. So I had, because of my business degree, I was able to open up my practice. I started building it about 6 months before I finished my residency program. So going right into my office as soon as I finished my residency program allowed me to really start off quick.
And do you feel like it was your finance degree that gave you the confidence to do that, or what do you feel like gave you the confidence? Because I feel like some people feel like they have to work for a few years. So of what made you go right in?
Great question. Definitely my business degree gave me confidence on the business background, because you go and you apply, everyone has to apply for loans to start that
right.
first office. And these bankers come in and they have zero trust in any doctor at all. And they want you to have those monthly calls with them to go over P&Ls. And most doctors that I've come across have no idea how to even read a P&L.
Well, they want a business plan, and doctors are like, what does a business plan look like?
That's right. That's right.
Right.
So having the business degree definitely helped. The other thing that helped was the 1 year of AG residence and then 2 years of practice in the Air Force. And I think that gave me the most confidence. And anytime that I lecture to residents or new doctors that are out, I recommend practicing a minimum of 2 years before opening their own practice. Just the first year, you're just really finding where you're at with the clinical aspect, whether you're an orthodontist or a pediatric dentist or a general dentist for that matter. That second year allows you to really hone in on your practice and start to learn some of the business side of opening a practice. So 2 years is minimum, in my opinion, to be able to open up a successful practice to where you can really scale up quickly, if that makes sense. So going back to your question though, when I got into my pediatric dental office, ortho was not even a thought to start doing as of yet. For me, it was just getting that practice established. And within about 8 to 10 months is when I had the opportunity to acquire my second office. And it was a gentleman that was getting ready to retire, and he had a really small pediatric dental office. So went in, acquired that. Within 6 months, I'd already outgrown the building that he was in, and I was able to move into a larger office. And then after a year, was it a year, maybe 6 to 8 months later, I'm looking at my dental reports, and I realized that within that time between my first office and my second office, I had referred out over $1 million in ortho.
Right. Yeah.
And that was quite a
shocking.
Quite a shock that much had already been referred out.
So when it comes to your growth, did you have two practices at the same time, or were you kind of doing a stepwise growing as you acquired that second office?
So by the time I acquired the second office, I had already ramped up my first office to 4 days a week.
Okay.
And so that second office was, because it was an acquisition, was already open 4 days a week. So at that time, I went ahead and hired an associate, opened up the first office 5 days a week, and that second office 5 days a week.
Got it.
So it was full time in both offices. And I had some great friends that were orthodontists in that first year that had come to me, and because I was giving them all my referrals. And
they were loving you.
And I assumed that we were just really good friends.
Right.
Well, later on, I learned that maybe we weren't quite as good of friends as I thought we were when I started bringing in my own orthodontist, and those referrals started diminishing a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So I bring in my first orthodontist into the office, and of course, it's one day a week. We start out 1 day a week, and we just start referring all our patients from both offices to that 1 day a week, and that's where I kind of started. Right. It was within that office. The office luckily was big enough that I could still see my pediatric patients and bring in an orthodontist as well. And that's where my ortho career kind of started with iKidds. And that was the first opportunity. As we get in today, I'll tell you where it really scaled up for me. And it was probably, if I had to say my best business decision in my entire career was the first freestanding orthodontic office that I acquired, and how I acquired it.
So you were early in terms of nationally on kind of this ortho-pedo combo, having offices, having a referral system, your own kind of ecosystem. So as you got to the point of, okay, now you're going to tell the story in a minute of you opening up your ortho practice, there's a branding and a marketing approach, because obviously now you're not maybe getting as many referrals, or you're not referring out. Those referral networks are kind of tightening up a little bit. So what was then your approach? And maybe that's part of the story of opening up your orthodontic practice, is what was your approach at the beginning for this ortho-pedo combo practice, but then also opening up the second or the third location that was a standalone ortho practice?
Sure. So as I'm looking at marketing and wanting to start scaling up, I knew that I had to continue those in-house referrals. So then I started thinking of processes. How do I go about making sure that every single child that needs ortho is being referred? Case acceptance started, all the KPIs started going through my head for ortho. Of course, we know the KPI is for pediatric, and the importance of that. And branding had to start happening a little bit more on the ortho side as well. And it was important to me to really build that reputation on the pediatric side. And there's no question that pediatric and orthodontics there's that synergy between them. And one just really, or how can I say this? One without the other is never going to. They will always, ortho and pedo together will always be better than ortho and pedo alone. There's no question about that. So I had to come up with that way to really allow both of them to escalate at the same time and together. So branding iKidds Pediatric Dentistry, first of all, was my number one goal, and I had to create that niche. I wasn't the only pediatric dentist in the area. So when I founded iKidds Pediatric Dentistry, I wanted to get away from the traditional aspect of dentistry. And people that know me and have heard me speak have heard me talk about this multiple times. And what that means is that anytime that you walked into a dental office, an orthodontic office, and this was back in 2009, 2010 when I started, right? But anytime that you walked into a dental office, an orthodontic office, medical office, any healthcare office for that matter, it was always the same thing. You would walk up to a glass windows. Someone would open the glass window up. They would check you in, hand you a clipboard or an iPad, close the window. You'd go sit down, fill it out, and then turn it back in. Someone would open the door about 10, 15 minutes later, yell your name across the entire waiting room. And by tradition, by us growing up, because that's how it was always done when we were kids, we would stand up and walk to the door, and they'd take us and put us in that room. And if you think about it, it's never changed. When you were kids, that's how it happened. Still happens a lot now. It's always been the same thing. Well, I wanted to get away from that traditional aspect of just the normal healthcare setting.
Right.
And I started looking when I was in my residency and in the military. I would go around to as many offices as I could just to walk in to see how people did it. And it was very similar. So getting away from that traditional aspect, I wanted to follow in that customer service realm. I wanted to take a healthcare office and make it the epitome of customer service, kind of like Ritz-Carlton for the hotel industry, kind of like Disney for the entertainment industry, or even your Chick-fil-A for the food industry.
Right.
So when I founded iKids Pediatric Dentistry, that was my number one goal, was to create that niche of just customer service first and foremost. So when you walked into one of my offices, it was my front office standing up, smiling, genuine smiling, and genuine welcome in. There were no glass windows in any of my offices. In any of my acquisitions, if they had glass windows, that was the first thing that we would do, is we'd go in and we'd remodel the entire reception area and take away those glass windows, because I wanted it to be completely open. When an assistant comes out, and whether it's an orthodontic office or a pediatric office, they would open the door, shut the door behind them, walk all the way up to the guest, formally introduce themselves, and escort them back. There was no just yelling the name across the entire waiting room.
Right.
When they get into the back, we would follow the 10-foot rule that Sam Walton a long time ago in Walmart established. And that was when you're within 10 feet of someone, smile, make eye contact, and speak. And what we found was that these moms or these dads that may be having a rough day, or even another colleague in the office that is having a rough day, because this 10-foot rule, it encompasses people you work with as well as it does patients. So when someone would walk through the back, if they pass 3 assistants, a hygienist, and a doctor, that is 5 good mornings or 5 good afternoons with a smile. And it is amazing the effect and the power that just a smile and a good morning has on everyone. And then we established a concierge checkout. So when parents are with their child in the op room, or parents are with their child in orthodontic room, and they're ready to, about 5 minutes left before they are checking out, we'll have someone from the front walk all the way to the back, check them out while they're sitting there, so that they don't have to wait to get their appointment as they walk out of the office.
Right.
And the old saying of people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care really applies in any healthcare setting. Just no one had ever really established that I knew of. So we started doing this, and our reputation really started growing to the point that we were being talked about, to the point that we had a national magazine come and actually interview us and write a story on us because of our customer service. So that had to be implemented first in order to start implementing that in the orthodontic segment as well.
So I have a question, because what you're describing, I mean, it sounds very much like Ritz and Disney and all the brands you mentioned. How difficult was that for you to train and to implement so that your team really was on board with it?
Great question. And as I would start going to these DSO conferences, that was a question that was posed to me a lot, that once you start scaling up and have multiple offices, that you cannot maintain that customer service. And that was the difference between having that one private practice that I had, and then as I start to scale up, there's no way to manage that. Well, I love challenges, and I love when people tell me I can't, do something. So I thought about it, and it was heavy on my mind, because at this time I think I had 3 or 4 offices.
Okay.
And I think I had 3 offices, but I still didn't have that orthodontic office yet. That was the next office that was coming, my first freestanding orthodontic office. And I remember waking up at 3:30 one morning, because this has been on my mind. And I woke up and I had the solution. And at the time, I had my marketing director, and my father was actually doing some PR stuff for us at iKids. And it was 3:30 in the morning, and I texted him at 3:30 in the morning, both of them, and I said, meet me at our corporate office, which was called NEDAC, at 6:30 this morning, because we're going over the solution to our customer service. And after the second office, I had started to centralize everything. basically because of that customer service. I called it the unfun stuff. I wanted to get all the unfun stuff away from the offices and centralize it, so where the offices, all they had to do is focus on the patient experience and that customer service, and all the business stuff, the unfun stuff, was centralized and away from those parents and patients. And thinking of a name of a company is always tough. I was very lucky with iKidds Pediatric Dentistry, and my brothers had a lot to do with that, with helping me come up with that name. iKidds is very simple to brand, right? But coming up with a name for a corporate entity was tough. So started thinking about my kids' names. I have 5 children, and started listing all their names backwards. None of them made any sense, but my youngest son's name is Caden, and Caden backwards is Nedak. And that's how my corporate office came to be.
I love it. I love
that.
So I digress a little bit. We get back to my marketing director, my father, meeting me at 6:30, 7 o'clock at my corporate office, Nedak. And I tell him that this is what we're going to start doing. We're going to create an entire new curriculum based on customer service in the healthcare industry. We're going to start from how you greet patients, phone etiquette. We're going to change the phone etiquette completely on what is right and what is wrong. We're going to talk about the 10-foot rule. We're going to talk about positivity. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence had just really started to hit the market back in 2012.
Right. So
we were having an entire curriculum on emotional intelligence and body language. And this turned into an 8-hour accredited course, and we called it Nedak Institute. And we started having every single one of our employees go through this 8-hour training, and our doctors as well. And this allowed us to have that same focus, that same training, same mission, vision, and values throughout all the offices. And that really standardized the iKidds way, is what we called it.
Yeah.
And that allowed us to have that customer service in every single office.
If you're like most orthodontic and pediatric dental practices, you're probably struggling with oral hygiene compliance, observation conversions, and an increase of shoppers, especially among young patients and their families. In my practice, Wild Smiles makes converting observation and phase 1 patients easy. Young patients and their shopping families value a personalized experience. When I first added Wild Smiles to my practice, they made inventory and reordering easy, and they even led our team through simple instructions on integrating Wild Smiles into our existing systems. So we saw an immediate success. Grow your early orthodontic patient population with Wild Smiles to combat boring traditional braces and expensive phase 1 aligners. Check out wildsmilebraces.com/doctors to choose the customizable Easy Start Kit that's right for your practice. Mention code KIDSBIZ to save 10% off your first order. So with this curriculum, who taught it? Was it recorded? Was it live?
It was.
How did you come up with the curriculum?
So great question. My first, I guess, career was in sales, right? Sales and finance. I grew up in sales. So my parents had a furniture store. I grew up selling furniture. I sold furniture to get myself through college. Right after college, before I really entered into some corporate finance stuff, one of my close friends' dad owned a car dealership, and I had never done that. So I went and sold cars for 6 months, and then started going into the finance world. And that was a great education, selling cars. Oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah.
But growing up selling furniture, I learned one valuable lesson, and that is something that I still teach a lot of the doctors is no matter what you do in life, be it an orthodontist, pediatric dentist, whatever your career is, you always need to know how to sell, because you have to sell yourself.
Right.
You do.
And when I look for associates, when I look for doctors to come and work for me, the first 2 things that I look for is personality and the ability to sell yourself. Because if you can't sell yourself to a patient or to parents, it doesn't matter how great your clinical skills are. It doesn't matter how responsible you are to show up on time. If you can't sell yourself, you're not going to have any patients to show off your clinical skills.
Right.
Exactly.
Right? So that curriculum, it was taught by my 2 area managers and my marketing director. and my father would go in and actually teach some of that curriculum as well. And it became popular enough to where not only were we teaching all of our employees, but we had other offices from all over Texas coming in and paying to take this class. And this 8-hour course was a game changer. These offices would go back to their offices, to their own offices, and it was a game changer for them.
So for your practice, how long did it take, once you had the curriculum developed and ready to go, how long did it take you to cycle through all your offices and all your team members and really implement it?
Well, luckily at that time I only had 3 offices.
Okay.
So it didn't take too terribly long. So but 8-hour course, we'd have to come in on Saturdays, and of course we'd pay our team to come in on that Saturday. But it was well worth the money spent to get everyone on board with that type of customer service.
So did you only do customer service, or did you do this same type of curriculum when it came to the front and training them and the back and training them on clinical, or was it just customer service?
No, it was all encompassing from again, answering phone etiquette, how to answer the phones the proper way, to taking an upset parent and how to cool them down, from again, body language, emotional intelligence, and all of that not only dealt with the patients, but it also was great for each other. How to leave your personal issues at the door when you come into the office.
So important.
So important. So all of this really made a difference. And it was, I guess if you put it in a nutshell, it really taught everyone how to go above and beyond.
Right.
Right. So we always say, reach as high as you can. And there's always a point that you can reach even higher. And that's what we wanted to really instill into all of our employees, all of our team members.
So I have two
follow-up
questions about that. So you mentioned the cost of sending people into on a Saturday, right? Paying those hourly rates, and it was well worth it. Are there measurable numbers coming out of that you're able to point to? Because I know a doctor might be listening to this saying, yeah, it's worth it, maybe, but that sounds really expensive. And then secondly, were you willing to actually make hiring and firing decisions based on people's response to this training?
No. So customer service, when I opened up iKidds, that was the key to everything, right? Was that invaluable top of the line customer service. So when you're hiring team members on, it's a mindset. And if the employees were not willing to fall into that mindset and basically, be on that right seat on the bus, then there's no animosity, no judgment. If you weren't willing to fall into that type of customer service that we wanted to share, you just did not fit at iKidds. And again, no animosity. We just asked them to they need to go find their place. iKidds was not it. So yes, we would, our mantra was fire fast, hire slow.
Right.
And if you didn't fit and you weren't willing to really go above and beyond, iKidds just wasn't the right place for you.
And I've heard that mantra before, and I did a startup 3 years ago, and there's like a national staffing shortage post-COVID. So I've had to hire all post-COVID, and I've wanted to follow that. But the issue is we are growing faster than there is good staffing to support that growth. And so we're actually thinking of doing something very similar. I didn't think doing from a customer service perspective. It was more so, I don't want to rely on a lead. I don't want to put all my eggs in one lead basket to train everyone. And then if they leave, all of a sudden I've invested everything into this one person, and then I don't have anyone to train the next hire. So for me, I was thinking of doing like a whole curriculum of filming our training, so that I don't have to rely on a lead. They can't come to me and be like, hey, I need a $2 raise or I'm leaving. I'd be like, hey, that's fine. You can leave because I've invested in myself with the curriculum. So it's really great to actually add the customer service onto that curriculum as well. But yeah, I think was probably genius, and we're going to follow suit, at least from the clinical side, and then probably add some customer service into there as well.
And filming, having that on video is great. What I found really helped out though was role playing. As people can listen to something all day long, but until they actually act it out or do it themselves, they don't have the confidence themselves. Right. And so role playing was a big part of our customer service training.
That's great feedback. Yeah, I think that, maybe from my perspective, people can do like the clinical stuff or the administrative stuff one-on-one, just watching the films. And then maybe we still do that one day full staff, whether you're in the front or in the back, that customer service where you can role play. That's a really great idea. So thank you for that feedback.
And it doesn't take very long. Even if offices have huddles in the morning from 7:45 to 8 before they start their day, take 5 minutes and do, one little role play. Grab an assistant, grab a hygienist, and say, hey, this morning we're going to do this little role play, and you're going to be the patient, you're going to be the assistant, and this is the scenario. Ready, go. And then they do the role play, and then it's great because then you can say to the rest of the team, okay, what did she do great? What were some of the opportunities that she could have done better? And everyone gets involved and everyone can see it.
Love that. So I want to get back to, you said that your catalyst of growth was really when you did your standalone ortho office. So I'm looking to expand, and I feel like, I'm really toying with, okay, we're outgrowing. Right now we're in 2,500 square feet. We're pedo and ortho. So I have 3 days. Well, I have 2.5 days. He has 2.5 days. And we're really at capacity. So we need to figure out something soon. So I'm thinking, do I keep ortho at our location and expand pedo in a different location? Or do I just go into a different market and do pedo ortho and do a bigger office there? What do you think is, because it seems like you've kind of done it all, right? And you probably know kind of what works the best. Do you feel like the best success is when there's pedo ortho in the same office? Or do you feel like it was actually beneficial to have ortho in their standalone office?
So I don't think it's a black and white answer. I don't think there's a right answer. There's positives and negatives to both. If you have an office that is big enough to where you can actually have a separate part of that office that is ortho, mm-hmm. and the other side of it is pedo, that is a great way to go, because you have that immediate referral source, right? And the parents are not having to go to a different office.
Right.
What restricts you though is that other pediatric dentists are going to be very hesitant to refer to that orthodontic office. So you're limited to just your pediatric dentist referring to that office. Whereas if you have a freestanding building, you have a better opportunity for other doctors to refer rather than just your own pediatric dentists. Right?
So when it comes to branding, are you still branding it iKids Ortho? Because if you are, don't you feel like other pediatric dentists are like, well, they're pedo ortho, I'm not going to refer, even if it is standalone?
So Ashley, you read my mind, and I can tell that you are very business minded now, and I love that. So yes, so so the first office that I acquired, now there's nothing I could do when my orthodontic office was inside my pediatric dental office, right? 1 day a week, I have an orthodontist coming in and seeing my patients. Nothing I could do there. So I'm sitting in my office on a Friday, and I get a phone call. And I had been open for 2 years now, and had 3 heading towards my fourth office. And I get a call from a local orthodontist, and he was in the same city as my first office, and had never met him. And he asked, Dr. Hamilton, you don't know me, but this is my name, and I'm really struggling in my orthodontic office, and I've been open the same amount of time that you have, and you have 3 offices, and I'm still in the negative. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'd love to talk to you, find out about your marketing, what's been successful for you, because I really want to I don't want to fail in my office. And I'm getting to the point to where I'm not making enough money, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to make it. Would you mind meeting me for breakfast tomorrow morning and sharing with me what you can? And I said, absolutely, happy to. Well, the next morning we go to breakfast, and we actually meet at Chick-fil-A, and we sit down and we start talking. He's telling me all the struggles that he's having on the business side, on the marketing side. Great guy, great personality, which is what I always look for. Really felt that he had the ability to sell himself, but it was the business side that he was really struggling with, the marketing side that he was really struggling with. And he was not making a profit still at all. His books were negative. And we sat there for a good 45 minutes just listening to him. And finally at the end, I posed a question to him, and I said, look, this is my goal. This is where I want to be in the next 8 to 10 years. And I said, here's what I can offer you two things. I can tell you what I do with marketing, and you can just go and do it, or join iKidds. And in 8 to 10 years, when we, either sell to a private equity or sell to a larger DSO, you will be able to sell for the same multiple that all of my iKidds offices will sell for. And it will be a great benefit to you. And I said, so what I'm asking you to do is basically I will take 50% of your office, and we will put it under my umbrella, and I will have your orthodontic office $1 million practice within a year. Okay. And I said, so you will have 50% of whatever we sell your practice for in 8 to 10 years, or you can have 100% of what you're doing right now.
Negative.
Yeah.
Negative.
Right.
And he agreed. So I bought half of his orthodontic office for $0.
No way. That's great.
And right. So sells. But I bought half of his office for $0. We rebranded it iKidds Orthodontics, and within a year, because we had the largest pediatric dental office, in the Metroplex at that time, just feeding every single patient to him. And his books went from negative to positive super quick. And it was very beneficial for us, and it was very beneficial for him, and ended up being extremely successful for both of us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But that was probably my best business acquisition, because I was able to get half of even though he wasn't profitable, everything was still established, and I was able to get it for nothing. Now back to your question, Ashley, how did I brand? So it took me about a year to realize what you realized in about 2 minutes. And that was having that same brand. And part of it was pride that, oh yes, iKidds Pediatric Dentistry, I need to have iKidds Orthodontics. It's that same brand, and I gotta stick to my brand. Well, what I started realizing after a while was that, and I had already, by that time we had rebranded, and after a year I already had another about 2 or 3 other offices and a couple of other orthodontic offices. And I started to realize that, wait a minute, something's going on here. I'm not able to scale the ortho offices as much or as fast as I want to. So we started doing some digging, and what we were realizing was that two things. One, we weren't getting referrals from outside sources, and 2, all we were seeing in those freestanding ortho offices were kids. We weren't seeing any adults. And we would market the heck out of family orthodontics, that we are braces for both adults and children. So then I started looking at the name, and iKidds Orthodontics, just
saying you work on kids.
Right.
Wasn't the right name. That's right. So no matter how much we spend in marketing, people would see the name and they would just think, oh, this is just orthodontics for kids.
Yeah.
So that was the light bulb that went off. And I went through and rebranded every single one of my orthodontic offices. So
what'd you rebrand
to?
It was
iKidds Orthodontics in Mansfield. That became Braces on Broad, where it was iKids Orthodontics of Waxahachie. It became Braces of Waxahachie, or Braces of Burleson. And then what that did was, all of a sudden, parents and adults were calling us for braces, and that allowed us to go visit, my marketing team to go visit other pediatric dentists in the area and start getting referrals for these offices, because it didn't look like that these orthodontic offices were established with iKids Orthodontics. So it served two purposes. We got adult patients and started getting referrals from other orthodontic offices as well, or pediatric dental offices as well.
So I have two questions. So one, I feel like people are smarter than that. I know every pedo ortho for the surrounding 10 miles of my community. I know the backstory of their office. I know that when I think they're ready to sell, that I do due diligence. Don't you think that other businesses do their due diligence and know that you're still attached, or that these ortho offices are attached to iKids and therefore I shouldn't refer? Or do you think that they're oblivious?
So no, hopefully they do. Hopefully they're smart enough. Now, I won't say everyone is, right, but majority are. But it's not so much for the doctors as it is for the patients, because the patients don't know.
Got it.
And that's when you go in with your marketing team, and we're not going in trying to, pull a fast one over on these pediatric dentists.
Right.
We're going in and we're saying, hey, this is our orthodontic office. Do you know Dr. Hamilton? Well, he owns iKids Pediatric Dentistry, but he also owns Braces on Broad. But we'd still love to have your business. And what our commitment to you is, and what our promise to you is that if you refer to our orthodontic office, we are not going to take your patient and refer them over to iKids Pediatric Dentistry. And this is our promise to you. We will do a phenomenal job with the braces. We will be in communication with you, and we will make sure that those patients are sent back to you. When it was iKids Orthodontics, patients would come, they would see our customer service because it was above others. And then they'd say, oh, you're affiliated with iKids Pediatric Dentistry, then we're just going to go there as well.
Right.
So that switching the name eliminated those parents asking about iKids Pediatric Dentistry, if that makes sense.
Got it.
Sure.
My follow-up question, because obviously I did some due diligence on you before we brought you on, especially knowing that you're going to be talking about branding and marketing. So, I kind of went to your website, I went to your socials, and, your socials are a lot of primary colors, very kid-centric. And then when you go to my branding and my socials, even though we are a pediatric office, we do not look like a pediatric office. We look more so like you're walking into your home. It's very, I wouldn't say it's any age centric. It's just a very elevated office. I didn't want to personally work in Disneyland, so that's really the reason why I did it. But it really worked out to our benefit because we get a lot of adult patients. They feel comfortable, and the kids just feel comfortable because a lot of kids are like, this is so similar to our house. It's just decorated very warm. And so when you started doing your ortho, when you start thinking about the visuals of the ortho, is it also in the primary colors, or are you targeting a little bit more of a sophisticated design?
Yeah. So we think a lot more alike than I think you think. So our brand, iKids Pediatric Dentistry, is in those primary colors, right? When you walk into our office, though, you will not see any murals. You will not see any clowns. You will not see any of those colors. You will see LED chandeliers. You will see, for example, in our Mansfield office, you will see just the gray and black tones. You will see can't believe I'll admit this, a $12,000 ottoman from Italy sitting in the middle of the reception area. And it is a place. Our reception areas and our waiting areas are made and designed for parents.
Got it.
So that when they're sitting there, they're all, oh gosh, I can either go back with my kids or I can sit in this plush reception area that I don't feel overwhelmed because I'm staring at 12 clowns on the wall, or I'm staring at fish all over the walls. So our inside of our offices are designed so that the parents can feel comfortable sitting as if they were in a Ritz-Carlton waiting area. Now we do have places for the kids. We'll have little, game room, or we'll have a little theater room where the kids can go, but the actual reception area is designed just as you're saying. Now, our orthodontic brands, our braces of Burleson, braces of Waxahachie, braces of McKinney, that is a little bit different. It's the logo is in black and a little bit more, let's say ritzy than the primary colors of iKidds Pediatric Dentistry.
So that makes sense. Maybe that's why I couldn't find more of your orthodontics on socials, because it's actually a separate name.
Right. They're all separate names now.
So when it comes to, so it sounds like, they're kind of separate entities. Are they also separate entities when it comes to your budgets? So when you're kind of allocating, 2025 budgets, does Pedo have a completely separate budget and goals than your ortho, or is it all one combined? Because right now, when I look at my office, we do separate goals, but when it comes to budget, because the income and the collections all just come in as one, I budget as a whole. How do you kind of allocate your funds?
We differentiate our budgets. So we have a budget for ortho, we have a budget for pediatric dentistry, we have a budget for our hospital that we do for our general anesthesia. So it is all separated out so that if there's an issue, we know exactly where to go to it. We're not having to print reports out and find the differentiating factors. So we do separate all of our budgets.
Got it. And so at this present day, are all of your locations separate and branding separate?
As far as
pedo and ortho.
So no, they're not. We have five. I think we have five freestanding orthodontic offices.
Okay.
And I have about 20 in the Metroplex right now.
Okay.
And 5 of them are 5 or 6 are freestanding orthodontic offices, maybe 6 now. And we have 3 or 4 that have pedo ortho in the same building, but separate spaces for each. And then we have 2 or 3 that we just didn't have the space, so we have an orthodontist coming into that office once a week.
Okay.
So it's just it's all different, and again, I don't think one is a better model than the other, but
they just have their pros and cons.
Right. When you have that model, you just have to figure out what you're going to do that will give you the best return.
And you bring that strategy to each location based on what you need, not necessarily based on the whole brand.
That's right. That's exactly right. For example, just like any marketing, you want to have that call to action. Marketing for pedo and ortho is completely different, I think. And Ashley, do you agree that?
Yes. When I am marketing pedo, because we're really trying to differentiate ourselves in the pedo market. We are in Southern California. I would love to hear Dallas is also a very saturated market as well. So I kind of foresee trends in marketing, and I'm trying to get on the forefront of those. And so we're kind of changing our treatment philosophy to more so preventative versus treating the problem and digging down to root cause and those sorts of things. So talking about airway, we have like a whole tongue tie business, that sort of thing. So that's kind of how we're targeting the pedo. And then on our ortho, we're still, airway orthodontics has been big for a little while, but yeah, we're definitely have different strategies for targeting both pedo and ortho, but collectively I market as SoCo, which is our global brand.
Okay. So there are 3 things that I think that I've done a little bit different with ortho. One, of course, when you have that pedo ortho, is sending every single child coming in, whether they're 5, 6, 7 years old, even if they're not ready for braces yet, to go ahead and get that referral over to the orthodonist. And
don't wait till they're 7. I completely agree.
Right. Set up that ortho home. And what that does, when you talk about customer service, you're talking about relationships, right? And if you can build that relationship between that parent and that orthodontist at age 5 or 6, the last thing that parent wants to do is go out and search for another orthodontist, have to go in and meet another orthodontist and start that relationship all over again. Yeah. So if you send them over at 5, 6 years old before they're even ready for braces, and it's not necessarily for the exam. A little exam must be done, but it's for that parent to meet the orthodontist, build that rapport, build that relationship so that when the child is ready and the mom is ready, they automatically know where to go, and that patient-doctor relationship has been established, right? So that's crucial. When we're going out and I'm getting my orthodontist to go out and meet general dentists, other pediatric dentists that are referring, what I've noticed in the last since COVID, doctors don't want to sit and have an entire lunch with one of my orthodontists. They don't want to spend a lot of time. They have their own things that they want to do. So I've established what I call TMVs, and it stands for 2-minute visits. So what I have my office managers do of my ortho offices, they will call the pediatric dental office of who we want referrals from, and they will say, whoever his office manager is, Jill, I'm Ashley, I work with Dr. So-and-so. He would love to come and meet your pediatric dentist. In the next 2 to 3 weeks, do you have 2 minutes, either before lunch, during lunch, or right after lunch, or at the end of your lunch, that we can stop by, shake hands, have my orthodontist introduce himself, bring your entire office some treats, and I promise you, all the time we will take will be just 2 minutes, and you can go on that, because that's all of the time that we will be there.
I love that.
When an office manager hears that you're only going to be here 2 minutes, that's not going to be a problem. My doctor's going to be fine with that. Yes, let's schedule you in. We'll see you at 12 o'clock on the 28th, which is 2 weeks away. On that day, office manager goes and gets a bag of Hershey Kisses or a basket of fruit, whatever it is, grabs our orthodontist. They run over there, walk in. Hey, we had an appointment at 12 o'clock to meet your doctor. Remember, it's just 2 minutes. That office manager goes in the back, grabs the doctor. There's not a pediatric dentist or doctor out there that's not going to come up for 2 minutes of your time.
Right.
And when that pediatric dentist walks out, my orthodontist shakes hands, introduces themselves, a quick, hey, where are you from? Where'd you go to school? Well, man, it is so nice to meet you. We know your time's important. We're leaving your office with some treats. If you want to hear more about us, please let us know. But here's some of our referral cards. We'd love to take care of your kids for you.
You talked about post-COVID strategies, and I really do feel like there is a huge difference in how we run our businesses post-COVID. And so are you still heavily relying on referrals post-COVID, or are you going more direct to consumer in your marketing in the last few years?
Both. So those TMVs are how we are getting referrals, right? And these doctors really appreciate not wasting their time. So TMVs was one. The other thing that we're doing is called Partners in Education, just the pie. And this takes a little bit more effort, because I'm having to go to the school districts. So I'll walk into the school district, find a way to meet with the superintendent if possible. And I'll walk into the superintendent, and you have to make an appointment. It usually takes about a month to get in. Mm-hmm. But it's a 15, 20-minute conversation. Hi, I'm Dr. Hamilton. I own such and such orthodontic office in this school district, and we would like to be partners in education with you. Well, what does that mean? Well, anytime that any of your children from your school come to our office and receive braces, we're going to donate $50 to your school to do whatever they want with. And it doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter. You can buy recess equipment, you can pay for lunches, you can buy books. It doesn't matter what it is. And they're all, well, what's the catch? No catch. We're happy to send you flyers. You can put those flyers in the school notebooks when they send, or the folders when they send home for the parents to sign. You can do whatever you want with it. We have some ideas that we can give you, but it's your choice. That has been super helpful. And what has happened, we've had elementary schools, junior highs, where we've had 12 to 15, 20 kids come and get braces, and we'll wait for the end of that month, and then we'll take a $1,500 check to that school. Yeah. And when we give that $1,500 check to that principal, the principal's all, well, what do we do with this? It is whatever you want. And after that first check, and that principal receives $1,500 of funding that they can use for whatever, guess what they start doing with their students? Yeah. They start promoting our orthodontic office because they like that free money.
That's a great strategy because, I'm new to the area. I don't have children in the school districts yet. And so I have found it very hard. A lot of the competing orthodontists in our area, they have kids that are school age. And so, they have those relationships with the PTA moms. They've already kind of cornered that market, and it's really hard for me to get in and do anything related with the schools. So that might be a great strategy to approach it.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Hamilton, in listening to all of this, you are way out in front of a lot of other docs in terms of being creative, thinking through things that aren't just your traditional approach or taking maybe a slightly different approach. So as you look out into, we've talked post-COVID, in the next 5-10 years, and specifically with ortho-pedo practices and where they overlap and how they're branded and how they're owned, what strategies do you see changing? Where do you anticipate needing to be to take advantages of those opportunities in the future?
So everyone is getting smarter in this realm, in the business aspect, in the customer service market. Everyone's getting to the point to where it's harder and harder to differentiate yourself.
Yeah, it's not as easy as taking down the glass anymore.
That's right. So finding that niche, right? What is it you do different? Well, I actually just had a meeting with a lot of my colleagues about this. What do we need to do? What are we doing that we can do better at? And part of it goes back to, and some people may completely disagree, and that's fine, but this is just where a lot of my background is. And that goes back to sales. And I look back at one of the national markets. I worked at Haverty's Furniture for a year, and it's a huge national furniture chain. And they had these reports where they would compare the salespeople in the entire nation. And I worked there for a year. And at one point, I actually became the top. I was the top 3 salesperson in the nation. And I look back and what was it what was the difference that allowed me to be number 3 in the nation compared to someone that was number 12, number 50, number 200 in the nation? And it's that knowledge of sales, knowing how to sell, knowing how to close a sale. And people hear that and they're, oh, that sounds like a used car, salesman. But it's not. It is an art and it's a science, just like dentistry is, just like orthodontics is. Sales is an art and science. So what's going to differentiate an orthodontist from other orthodontists right now is their treatment coordinator. You find a treatment coordinator, and when I look at a treatment coordinator, I like to rank them from 0 to 10. And if you have a treatment coordinator that's an 8 and you can train them up to a 10, that is a knockout blow. You will have so many starts, you won't know what to do with. So, I have my colleagues and some of them are my managers, and I'll ask them, okay, I want you to rank your coordinators. And one of them said, well, we have a treatment coordinator that's a 4. I would rank a 4. Well, what are we doing? And this may sound bad, but as a business owner, what are we doing wasting our time with a treatment coordinator that's a 4? Because we can do all this training on sales, and that'll take her from a 4 to a 6, and that's still not where we want to be. So again, we need to kindly let that treatment coordinator go and find that treatment coordinator that can be an 8 so that we can train them up to a 10. You find the treatment coordinators that really know how to sell, that is going to take your orthodontic office to the next level.
In your experience, when you guys are hiring for that TC position, because we're currently looking right now it's my office manager doing the TC. Now, there's not a lot of experienced people out there that have TC knowledge or background. Do you think that that's important because they need to be able to sell the ortho treatment and have knowledge of the ortho treatment? Or do you literally just care that they have a sales position background?
I want a sales background. That's why I prefer not to take an ortho assistant and move them up into a TC role. Mm-hmm. Their experience with ortho was phenomenal, but even if they have a good personality, they may not know how to sell. I would rather find someone with sales background experience, put them in a TC, and then train them on ortho all day long. You will have a much better chance of starting cases than if you just take someone with ortho experience and put them in a TC role.
Is there a specific sales place or a sales background or a company or an industry that you have found is more effective for translating into a TC role, or just
That's a
sales?
Great question. I haven't. I've seen a couple, and I don't recall their names. I actually for D4C just wrote a sales PowerPoint. Okay. And this is about 3-4 weeks ago that just is on how to sell, both pediatric dentistry and ortho. But there's so many books out there on sales. There's so many things that you can send a treatment coordinator to sales training. I mean,
Right.
we spend all this time sending our doctors and assistants on to get sealant certified or to get Profi certified or all these CEs. But yet, how many of us have sent our treatment coordinators to a weekend sales course just on how to sell?
Right.
That doesn't happen. And that is something that is missing in our world.
Well, and some encouragement, I would say, to the doctors out there that are listening, to back up what you've said is, a lot of times I think people are too slow to fire. Like you mentioned earlier, be slow to hire, fast to fire. And oftentimes, and we've even found this in our business, that, if you've got that 4 salesperson in a sales role, not only will the best that they can probably be as a 6, but also they're probably, if not right now, within a short amount of time, they're going to be extremely unhappy because they're not going to see the success that they want. So by identifying that earlier in the process and helping them see that this isn't going to work out for them or for you, and then maybe even going the extra step and saying, hey, we want you to be successful somewhere else. We'll help you find a role somewhere else, or having that conversation like it sounds like you've had with, hey, there's no hard feelings here. It's just there's not really a place in this organization. And you can handle that in a way that's honoring to the person, but without, and I think a lot of times doctors, especially that we've talked with that maybe don't have a lot of business background that you do, they get nervous to have those conversations.
That is true. Anyone that knows me, one of my biggest quotes is that everything's in presentation, right? Right. It's the approach. And if you present something right, it's going to be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, oh my gosh, Dr. Ashley, we could keep talking to Dr. Hamilton, I think,
I know, he's a wealth of knowledge.
Oh my gosh, this needs to be a series probably, but we really appreciate, Dr. Hamilton, you spending the time sharing your story with us, and we're really thankful that you agreed to come and share who you are with us.
Hey, this has been a good time. One thing I'll leave with you. One of the things that has always helped myself and our offices out, and something that isn't trained in the office very very much anymore is the yes philosophy, and that helps so much to get parents into the office. And I'll leave one example. One of my colleagues, an orthodontist, she's super good at this, and she had an example that happened, I don't know how long ago, but a mom called in to the office and she was really wanting lingual ceramic brackets placed on her child.
That don't
exist. And so she's calling around to different orthodontic offices, and she gets a hold of my friend's office, and she asked the same question that she had posed. She's I've called several other offices, and I'm trying to find, one of my friends told me about these lingual ceramic brackets, and I have a daughter and a son that need braces. Do y'all have lingual ceramic brackets? Well, Obviously, the other 3 offices said, no, we don't. So she hung up and called the next office and the next office and the next office. Well, when she calls my colleague's office, she says, do y'all have lingual ceramic brackets? And she had the training, the correct training. And she said, she's all, I am so glad you called. Our doctor, Dr. So-and-so, is a phenomenal orthodontist, and he uses several different techniques and several different bracket systems. And we'd love for you to come in and schedule a consult with him so that he can talk to you about the benefits of all these different types of brackets that you are wanting. When can you come in? So even though they didn't have the lingual ceramic brackets, she did not say no.
Right.
She used that yes philosophy. She got that mom in. The doctor was able to tell her the negatives of the lingual ceramic bracket and why she doesn't want them. And then she started braces that same day. So that yes philosophy is crucial in training these days.
Oh, that's a great way. That's a great story to end on. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks so much for your time. This has been fun.
Thank you.
Ashley would love to get in touch with you and
yes.
Learn more about your offices.
Yeah, same. I do have more follow-up questions so, for another time.
Great.
All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Kidds Biz Podcast. We hope you gained valuable insights to elevate your practice. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to leave us a review. It really helps us grow. Want to dive deeper into our community? Join the Kidds Biz Facebook group for discussions, resources, and networking with fellow professionals. Until next time, keep striving for success in your ortho and pediatric practice.